Hey!
Hey!
Hey! What's up, guys? Welcome back to our podcast, Two Peas in a Crime Pod. If you're new here, hello, welcome. If you're already a subscriber, what's up, brothers and sisters? See, you get a special shout out because you're special to us. So if you want that special shout out, subscribe.
Yes, please do.
This is my mama, Kelly.
Hello.
And she does all of the work, the case picking, research, planning, script writing, and post-production. So she's over here doing it all.
And this is my lovely daughter, Courtney. She comes in and adds the sparkle to the podcast. She doesn't know anything we're going to be talking about on each case. And so she's just responding in real time, just like seeing it for the first time, like you viewers. So she has lots of insights and funny, witty things to say, and we love her input.
Or sometimes the case makes me cry, and then I'm in a bad mood. So you just life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, we're going to try not to make her cry. I hope this case today doesn't make you cry. It's another child case, but it's not like the Diane Downs case that podcast.
That one wrecked my day.
It did. You can tell when you watch it. What was that, episode 19?
That sounds right. Yes.
And her whole demeanor is just angry.
I was just trying not to cry the whole time.
No laughter. Nothing funny at all to be said about anything. Yeah, it did.
But it was a good story. But
I would try to smile, and she'd be like,
there is no joy here.
So, and that's not her normal personality. That's why she's like the bright and shiny. You know, I always tell her, you're so shiny.
Yeah, and I think my brain was trying to think the whole time, like, are we sure the mom did it? Like, I'm waiting for the details. I really want to know, did we put the right person behind bars? And like, my brain was just like racing and sad. So, yeah, I kind of like shut down and zoned out. But like I said, next time I'll remember that I'm supposed to be the jester of the show, and I won't let child murder get me down.
That's right.
Oh, Mama, I love you so much.
No, I love you.
Oh, the water's running in the other room. Somebody flushed. Christopher made a pee-pee. So let's let that go.
I found a noise reduction thing on my video editor. Mm-hmm. So I haven't been, like, even when you say, oh, the kids are upstairs making noise, like booming that other day when we were filming.
Every once in a while. I think I can hear it because I notice it, but you're right. Most people,
for the most part, on the podcast, when it's playing, I don't hear the things that we end up commenting on later, like, oh, the furnace came on. Or
I still hear it. I can always hear it. But I think it's because I know what should be playing and what, like, I'm, you know what I mean? Like, I'm tuned in for it. The average listener probably didn't catch the furnace kicking on.
Well, I've only been using the noise reducer recently.
More recently. I'll see if I notice.
If it's an older case, you will still hear some.
Yeah, like episode 1 and 2, like when we weren't mic'd up yet. And it was like, hi guys, how you doing? Like we're in the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are, from humble beginnings. Here we are, episode 22. A semi-legit operation. Sans a roach crawling across the desk or the phone dying. We haven't had these things in a while. So.
We haven't had any problems in a while.
That's a plastic table, so that didn't mean anything, but... all right, Mama. Well, what's today's case?
Well, okay, so this is going to be an odd case. It is child murder, and it's tragic.
Wow, really?
We've been forgetting to give our disclosures. I haven't given any disclosures.
You've just been doing it. I thought maybe you learned that we don't have to do that.
I don't know if we do or not, to be perfectly honest. I think if we want YouTube to monetize us, we have to disclose. But we're not getting monetized by YouTube because they will never monetize us because all of our content is against their policies.
YouTube hates us.
So I don't think that I think we have to have sponsors
to get monetized.
And they don't care as long as we have views.
The sponsors are like, you can talk about killing kids all day. I don't care.
Yeah. The sponsors are like, we'll come and kill a kid for you if you sell our shit.
Right. We'll start killing kids if you get sales up. We don't care. I already told you I thought that we should just do like a basic read of a disclaimer that you cut into every video, like a 5-second disclaimer that you can just throw in so that we don't have to do it every time.
Yeah, but I can't because each video is different. It has different things. I just have to remember. If I'm not so brain foggedy all the time, I would remember at the beginning, I have to say, okay, we're going to be talking about child strangulation today. And then that's it. So there's your disclaimer.
Disclaimer, viewer discretion is advised. Do not try this at home, or whatever we're supposed to say.
Whatever.
You already know I think it's dumb because it's called true crime. Crimes are happening. Crimes can be violent. What did you expect? I don't get what YouTube wants from us.
I don't know either.
I don't know why we can't say essay.
I mean, from the sound of it, if I just look at what YouTube, they don't want us to say anything we're talking about. So we don't know if we're allowed to say sexual assault or if we have to say SA. And we don't know if we're allowed to say suicide or if we have to say
slew or slide.
What's the other thing? Self-harm or something like that.
Yes, or like make innuendos about it.
Yeah.
And I don't get, like, it's the freedom of speech, and suicide is a word, and its definition is a person who takes their own life. And sexual assault is a term. It's a term, and it's a criminal term. And I don't understand why we can't say it.
I don't know what the result's going to be. Like, are they going to now take this video off of YouTube because we did those things?
Because we said 800 things we weren't supposed to.
Or are we just not able to be monetized, but the video will stay up? So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know. Especially when we're just talking. Like, because I get, like, it's like graphic content. But as long as you're, like, not going into
and I have to click a button that says
this isn't
for kids.
Yeah.
So
I don't understand the rules. They just don't make sense to me. Like,
it's difficult. Maybe we're just
and I think you take away from the value of the story and from what the victim or the survivor or what it may be like went through. If I have to be like, she was raped, right? You know what I mean?
She was
like,
SA'd.
Jesus Christ! Like, call it what it is. Like, when we're like, fear of the world only promotes fear of the thing itself. Harry Potter, Hermione Granger. So I don't want nobody to tell me what I can and can't say.
Well, this case, it's very tragic. We're talking about a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. So
this time, every time I feel like frowning and being mad, I'm just going to go like this. But on the inside, I'm crying. Sad clown.
My poor girl. This is hard. It does wear and tear on you when you're talking about this, a lot through the week, like we are. And like me, I have to research it. I'm learning about it.
Yeah.
And then I have to do the script. So again, I'm going over it. And then after I print it out, I go over it again and make
find a way to describe it and elaborate on it. And
then we talk about it. And it's like, that's a lot of murder and bad things.
Yes. And I watch a lot of true crime documentaries. And so I already am like overly inundated with bad shit on my brain. So yeah. And now we're like getting like personally attached to these stories. So they're like really running through my mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a lot. I remember there was a time where Bailey Sarian, like, she used to post every Monday, and she started posting less. And she was like, guys, I'm sorry, but like, I just need a break. Like, I need a little bit of a break.
I could get it after doing it for years.
Between how hard it is to talk about these things repeatedly and the work that goes into it and making sure that the edits are done and all of the work that goes into it. Like, yeah, it's a lot. I can see where you get to a point where you're like, I'd like to just talk about makeup maybe this time and not murder. So, yeah. All right, let's talk about this great story that's going to be fun.
Okay. Well, to set the scene, it was the spring and summer of 1968, a working class neighborhood in Newcastle upon Tyne, in England.
Oh, okay.
It's called Newcastle upon Tyne. That's the city. I don't know why it says upon Tyne.
Like Upontine?
Yeah, look at it. Right here. Newcastle upon Tyne, and then it's New England after that.
Oh, Newcastle upon Tyne. Tyne. So it's not... I thought you were saying upon Tyne like it was all one word.
No.
So Newcastle upon Tyne. Okay.
Yeah. It's not how we do things in the U.S., so it's a little unusual for me to read that. Like, I'm not understanding what that means. Like, if it's a small city inside of a bigger city in New England.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Well, it's not New England. I was just going to say New England isn't our...
Great Britain.
I meant England.
She meant original England.
It's just England, not New England. I don't know what I'm talking about. I researched this 5 times and I still don't know what I'm talking about.
She's talking about old England.
Regular England, across the seas.
Across the pond.
With London and a foggy...
Newcastle upon
a foggy
Tyne.
Little London town.
Take you to foggy London town. I'm trying to think of my Spice Girls accent. Oi, hey, Newcastle. For some reason, I'm blanking out on how to speak with an English accent.
Newcastle. It depends on if you're a Cockney. You have Newcastle or you have the uppity Newcastle.
Newcastle upon Tyne. A gruesome murder took place.
We're being so bad, and this is a horrible case.
I'm trying to keep it up because
I
you
love
told me
it.
last time I was so miserable.
I appreciate. She was miserable. It's just sucked to edit.
Tell me about the youngins that were murdered.
Okay. Well, this place became the site of one of Britain's most disturbing criminal cases. 2 preschool boys, Martin Brown, who was 4, and Brian Howe, who was 3, were strangled to death. Yeah.
Yikes.
It's terrible. So let's talk about Martin Brown and Brian Howe first. Martin Brown was born in 1964, and he died on May 25th, 1968. So it was the spring of 1968. He was just 4 years old. He lived with his family in Scotswood, which is a working class district of Newcastle. The area was characterized by tight-knit families, high unemployment, aging housing stock, and numerous abandoned and condemned buildings. So it just reminded me very much. I drive Uber and I drive in Cleveland a lot, and that's kind of what the neighborhoods up there in the, not like the major city of Cleveland, but in the...
I was just talking to Sarah about this the other day, how like, when you say like, somebody will be like, I'm from Cleveland, and I'll be like, be more specific. And they'll be like, well, Mentor. And I'm like, okay, well, Mentor's all the way over here and it's not Cleveland. If you're from Ohio, if you go north of Fairlawn and east all the way to fucking the edge and west all the way to Toledo or Elyria, you're still describing Cleveland. It spans like 5 counties or more. Like, it's weird what people can, like, I'm from Lakewood. Oh, so Cleveland? Okay, well, Lakewood. Like, it's not, what does Cleveland exactly mean? We live here and I don't know. So,
I would consider like Cleveland around Euclid, and
I think like, Tower City is Cleveland.
Yeah, that's the city.
Yes.
And that's then there's the main city.
East Cleveland, which is like Little Italy, and then there's West Cleveland, which is like I'm thinking like it's on the water, you know what I mean, in that area.
Yes.
But no, if you live north of us here in Canton, like you're basically from Cleveland. It's wild. But anyways, you're right.
It's just a lot of
worn down economically.
The depressed economy.
Yes. Yeah.
You're looking at unemployment, and you're looking at a lot of failed businesses, just buildings that are empty, which is sad. But okay, so in the 68, when this happened, like many children in the neighborhood, Martin spent much of his time playing outside. And at that day and age, adult supervision was often very informal, and it was kind of shared among all the neighbors. So everybody just kind of kept an eye out, but nobody just sat outside watching the kids, even if they were 3 years old or 4 years old. They just played.
Wild to think about.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't imagine leaving a 3-year-old to go play in an abandoned building, which is what that was normal for them to play in these buildings.
Yeah.
It was like, let's go play hide and seek in the cool building.
You know, that's why kids were so much stronger and could go to war and work hard jobs, because they've been tough since they were 2.
Yeah.
I don't let my kids out of my sight and they're 8 and 11.
Right.
They're they can't do anything for themselves yet.
I know.
They're afraid of monkey bars,
Yes. Well, Scottswood in the late 60s was undergoing urban decline and then redevelopment. It had unsafe play spaces that children treated as normal. So the empty houses and rubble sites functioned as playgrounds and were considered just everyday hazards.
I was going to say, children love an unsafe
heck yeah
play area, though. That's what we love getting into. So for them, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
Not wise, though.
No, not the safest thing to do.
But it sounds like they didn't. It sounds like they didn't fall and get hurt at these abandoned sites. It sounds like that wasn't the problem. I don't think the abandoned building is what strangled them, I'm guessing. So
you're so right about that. So Martin, he was described by his neighbors as quiet, playful, and curious. He enjoyed playing with the other kids a lot and exploring the nearby empty buildings. And that was totally common in the area. He was too young to attend school full-time, and he was known to wander short distances from home, and nobody was concerned about that. That was perfectly normal. So I'm describing another age.
Yeah, it's a bizarre time period, but...
Yeah. On Saturday, May 25th, it was a normal day. Martin was playing outside near his home, and it was a warm spring day, and children were often unsupervised. He was unsupervised and playing in an old abandoned building. So the last sighting, there were multiple children who saw Martin playing with the local girl named Mary Bell. She was 10, and the two were seen heading toward an abandoned house that was slated for demolition.
Okay.
It was known locally as a child's hideout, so they were just kind of using it as their clubhouse.
Okay.
This was not unusual again. Martin then was later found inside the abandoned house, and his body was lying on a pile of rubble and positioned as if he had fallen, and the immediate assumption was this was an accidental death. While playing, he fell in a weird way, knocked himself out, and accidentally suffocated.
Okay.
So that's the first medical opinion suggested death by accidental suffocation. And there was no homicide investigation whatsoever, which meant no preserved crime scene.
Right.
No evidence.
Nothing. Right.
So later review of this case revealed critical oversights. There were subtle signs of asphyxiation that were not recognized immediately, and no one considered a violent act or intentional strangulation.
Right. It seemed so out of the norm, and so this rogue thing that they didn't think to look into it more. And then I'm guessing when a second one happened, similarly placed body, similar situation, they're like, why are kids suddenly just bumping their heads and then suffocating?
Yeah.
There's not usually a commonality between that, unless there's a pool of blood and they bled out, or choked on blood or vomit or something. You know what I mean? Now it's weird. And then you go back and you're like, oh.
Yes.
Oh, it wasn't an accident. I get it. If that kind of thing wasn't happening in your town and kids always were playing and there was nothing more than minor injuries, you wouldn't necessarily immediately think something sinister if that hadn't been going on.
Yeah, not necessarily, especially in 1968.
Yeah.
So the news spread quickly through Scotswood, and the prevailing belief was just that it was a tragic accident. So then let's get to Brian Howe. He was killed 2 months later. That made them re-examine Martin Brown's death. And then they did a second postmortem, and they concluded that it was manual strangulation, not accidental. The similarities between the two cases made that undeniable, and then the investigation confirmed it.
Yeah. Maybe upon closer review, they noticed some bruising or like a broken, what is that called? A hyoid bone, that bone that's right here.
The hyoid.
Those are the kind of things that you wouldn't necessarily notice unless you...
Probably wouldn't break in a 3 and 4 year old because they're still kind of rubbery.
They're kind of spongy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Which was probably why it was harder to determine.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know the statistics on at what point you can tell how you tell someone was strangled at different ages, you know?
Yeah.
But it's fucking insane.
So the second boy is Brian Howe. He was born in 1965 and he died on July 31st of 68 at just 3 years old. He was a toddler, so not yet in school, and he just lived a life defined by, the routine of a toddler. Familiarity, neighborhood play.
It was a male neighbor.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why?
Saw the kids playing, knew the habits, knew that they were unsupervised, had been having thoughts about them for a while, and realized I could probably capitalize on these thoughts because there's nobody the fuck around, and it would seem reasonable enough. And yeah, my guess is that he did something to them sexually and then had to kill them to not get caught.
Okay.
That's my guess.
All right. That's Courtney's guess. Let's talk about it a little more. So, Brian lived with his parents in Scotswood, and he was the youngest child in his family. Neighbors described him as cheerful and affectionate, and he trusted other children. He trusted everybody. His daily world was very small. He just had home, the nearby streets, and the familiar play spaces that were shared by all the children in the neighborhood.
There was probably a community, like the older kids were probably told, watch after your brother, sister.
That's exactly how it was.
I'm guessing that it wasn't a free for all.
They all played together.
A nanny almost like situation. Like the older kids knew they should watch out for the younger kids as they had been watched out for. So, but that's a big responsibility for a young child.
Well, sure, especially if it's not your family.
Right.
But yeah, that's what they did. That was just the norm.
Yeah.
So at 3 years old, Brian, he followed the older children. He copied what they did. He relied on familiarity, and he lacked developmental ability to recognize danger or question authority.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday, July 31st, in the late afternoon, early evening, Brian Howe left his home to play outside, and older children often mixed with much younger ones. So he was seen...
It could be a teen boy.
It could be.
It could be a teen boy and not a grown adult man. I'm wondering where I'm leaning. Strangulation, though. And two murderers. And like full-blown murder. Like
March and then July. So April, May, June, July. So 4 months apart.
What? Do I think it was a grown-up or do I think it was a teen? A teen would have been even less likely to be spotted because they would have been thought to be like, yeah, of course they're around there. They're a kid. They're playing with the other kids. Whereas an adult might have been a little weirder. Like, why is that adult going in the house? I don't know. I'm still leaning towards adult. But all right, go ahead.
All right. Well, he was last seen playing with Mary and Norma Bell. They were 10 and 13, local children in the neighborhood. They moved toward this rough, overgrown wasteland. It was in the disused railway lines area. So it was full of rubble, debris, and building demolitions and that
Both
kind of.
Both kids were playing with Mary Bell, though.
Yes.
A young girl.
Yes. Age 10.
Age 10?
Yes.
Straight up sociopath?
Are you seeing where this is going?
What the fuck, Mary Bell?
Yeah.
I always want to believe it's a grown man.
It was Mary Bell. I know.
Was she putting a pillow over their face?
No.
I don't know. What the fuck?
No.
A little girl. A 10-year-old girl.
A 10-year-old girl.
What the fuck?
I know. That's why I said this one's odd. It's not your typical what you would think. And even hearing about her and you said sociopath, just let me continue. So, this area was a known informal play space again and largely unsupervised. So Brian's body was discovered later that evening, and he had obvious signs of deliberate violence. It was obvious that he had been murdered.
Okay.
They treated the scene as a homicide immediately.
Okay.
And the evidence presented was that he had been manually strangled, and then after his death, his body was obviously manipulated and moved, and his hair was cut, and his stomach was scratched with the letters MB, like carved
Mary
into
Bell.
his skin. Yeah. So the behavior marked a clear escalation from the earlier killing of Martin Brown. But it also...
Or MB Martin Brown, I don't know.
Yeah, she later said it was hers.
It was her, okay.
Yeah, when they questioned her. But the immediate police response, they sealed the area and a full forensic examination was conducted. And then they canvassed the neighborhood for witness sightings and children who had been playing with Brian, which the reports quickly zeroed in on Mary Bell because she and Norma, her sister, had been the last people to be seen with him. So, and then she had unusual behavior following
the murders.
What happened. So witnesses and police later noted that she had returned to the scene that day, and she spoke openly and casually about Brian's death. And she was making comments about his injuries and how he was found, but her demeanor was calm and detached and inappropriately curious. Like, just really...
At that age, you're even much younger than that. You would be old enough to be a certain level of empathetic, even though young children still lack empathy. They're still learning it. There's still typically a sense at that age of like, this is a sad thing. That was my friend. And now he's dead. This is scary. Maybe they're sensing that it's scary. Definitely that it's sad. They might not think about like the parents, like, oh, I bet their parents are sad. That shows like a higher level of empathy.
Yeah, that's
but
a different
they would at least
developmental.
Be sad for their own self. That was my friend, and now I'm sad because I lost a friend. You know, like
yes.
So yeah, it would be bizarre.
Yeah, it'd be like picturing Lindsay.
That's what I'm thinking.
A year ago.
Yeah.
Being capable of this.
Lindsay was so far beyond that. She would have been like, their parents would be devastated. Their siblings will be devastated. The school teachers will look at the empty desk and always like Lindsay's so much.
She's so advanced.
She thinks about other people's feelings so much.
Yes.
She'd think about theirs before her own.
Mm-hmm.
But a typical 10-year-old would at bare minimum be saddened by how it's affecting them.
Especially think about 68, where they didn't... People let children be children back then. They didn't start teaching them things until kindergarten. Yeah. Now we've got preschool. Kids already know how their alphabet before kindergarten. Yeah. You know, back then you learned your alphabet in kindergarten.
Right.
I mean, things were less fast forward back then. So a 10-year-old really was more developmentally like a 7-year-old.
Yeah, but there still would be a certain sense of like, and it should be like your first time dealing with death. It should really confuse you and you upset you, and like, what do you mean they're not gonna play with me anymore? And what do you mean they fell down and now they're not alive? And like, you know, confusion, but not
this kind of morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
Is what she was displaying.
Not just like a cool demeanor about it. Yeah.
So after that evening, when they discovered his body, the word spread rapidly through Scottswood, and parents then pulled their children indoors and began suddenly guarding the play areas.
Yeah.
Now, they're not just letting them play alone anymore. But the fear intensified when it became obviously clear that a child was likely responsible for this and that the killer lived among them. So let's talk about their main suspect. Her name was Mary Bell.
Okay. She
was 10 years old at the time of the crimes, and she also lived in Scottswood. She lived in chronic neglect from her parents and with a lot of exposure to a lot of violence.
Okay.
So this kind of is one of those where her upbringing definitely has a huge impact on on why she killed.
If she had been severely neglected, she probably has delayed frontal and abuse. She probably had underdeveloped frontal lobe, just a cold. You go into
you don't process things the same way.
Headspace because
you don't process anything the same way that a regular, loved, supported child would.
And if you don't have any outside resources or help, you're
kind
not
of like
developing any empathy. Yeah, you're just having survival skills. Yeah.
Mary was known to display sexualized behavior well beyond age norms.
Okay.
This is because of her mother. There were early warning signs before the murders. She was leaving notes in the neighborhood reading, "I murder so that I may come back." So she's leaving a note that talks about murdering.
Right.
The note doesn't really make any sense, but she's talking about murdering.
Right. She's either, like if Lindsay did that, I'd be like, oh, she's watching a scary movie. She's trying to scare her brother. She wouldn't do that. It wouldn't be that extreme. But she would be like, Harvey, did you hear something in the other room to try to spook him? She wouldn't be like, I murder people. She wouldn't say that. But you're either thinking like this is like a really fucking creepy child or like this is a disturbed child.
Yes. And she's definitely disturbed. There were actually complaints from parents about Mary choking other kids during play. So she had been choking kids. And she was definitely aggressive and had controlling behavior. So teachers and adults had reported that she was making disturbing comments about death and unusually calm discussing grotesque things.
She does sound like a sociopath. To me. Yeah.
She does. Yeah.
She's lacking any empathy. And I'm sad that she was being abused herself and she was so young. It's not like a 25-year-old who says I was abused in this and that, like who had a chance to like get out and meet other people, make new connections, learn a little something. We're talking about a girl who was still very much under her parents' control.
Mm-hmm.
In a poor economic state, unsupervised. I'm sad for what she went through, but it doesn't excuse her actions. And it makes me sad that the other people didn't step in, that nobody.
Well, that's the thing. None of the red flags triggered a formal investigation of Mary, even when she was last seen with the first boy.
Martin Brown.
Yes, Martin Brown was the first boy. She was last seen walking with him towards the abandoned building that he was found in, and she had been known to be a choker of little kids. They didn't put that together when he was found dead of some kind of suffocation, and they just called it an accident. The police would later say they regretted.
Yeah.
That.
I'm sure they did. Yeah.
They felt bad about it. But then Brian Howe's death in July immediately changed everything. So now it tied in with, okay, now they're saying, oh, well, Mary was the last one seen with him. She chokes the other kids.
Right.
They reclassified Martin Brown's death as murder at that time.
Right.
So this was unusual for the police because now they had to interview dozens of children and they had to keep them separated to carefully avoid contamination of each other's stories.
Memories and stories.
Yes, that's exactly right. So
sometimes it's not the kids. Sometimes it's the parents you have to separate. They gossip. You know what I mean? But I get why you separate them. Yeah.
Multiple children had seen Belle leading the younger children away and acting dominant and controlling. And then, most notably, she spoke about Brian's body before the details were actually public. That's what the police had found out. So she was questioned multiple times by the police. And in the early interviews, there were a lot of contradictions, a minimization of involvement. She knows, I'm probably going to be in trouble if I say what happened. But then gradually, they coaxed it out of her. She admitted placing her hands on Brian's neck, and she claimed it was play.
Yeah, it sounds like some psychopathy. Like she was talking openly about it to the other people standing there, seemingly unaware that would
be weird.
Be a red flag, like that she was outing herself. The cops signified to her like, oh, this kid's dead. I know I can get in trouble for that. I better ease up on what I say. But just the regular public didn't make her feel socially awkward into not saying those things. I think even at a 10-year-old, like my daughter, like Lindsay knows how to lie. I can always tell when she's lying, and I'm like, I can see it on your face. I'm not saying she's a very good liar, but she is smart enough to know. Even Harvey's 8. Last night he came in and said, Mom, can I have $20 because I really want to give it to my sister because she has Panther Club this week and I want her to be able to get stuff at the sale. And I was like, oh, sweet boy. I was like, yeah, of course. And then Lindsay came in and was like, he's only asking that because he just said, I'll give you $20 if you go down and empty the cat's water for me. It had nothing to do. And I just believed him. I just ate it up. I was like, my sweet boy. Oh. And then he started crying. He was like, I was afraid there were spiders on the water dish. And I was like, don't lie to me.
Oh.
And then I was pissed off. But he's 8 and he conned me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, kids are not dumb at these ages.
That's true.
They're smart enough to know, what to say and what not to.
Yeah.
And the thing about sociopathy is that you lack empathy, but you do not lack intelligence necessarily. Like, you don't feel their feelings, but you know how to observe others and mimic, and like, what's socially acceptable and not. And you want to do these socially unacceptable things, but you know that you have to conceal them.
Yes.
It just sounds like she was just like a touch crazy. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
well,
he was laying this way, and
she definitely wasn't normal. She definitely wasn't normal. And then let's talk about Norma Bell, who was with her.
Her sister, her poor sister.
On the second one.
Yeah.
She was 13. She was arrested and charged alongside Mary, but police didn't know whether she had any part, whether she restrained Brian, whether she encouraged Mary. The evidence was very circumstantial and inconsistent. So there was insufficient proof of actual direct participation. So then they had to drop the charges against
Mary,
Norma.
outed herself. She was like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah. So they dropped the charges against Norma.
The other girl was older.
It wouldn't surprise me if Norma was just as crazy thinking as Mary. She lived through the same circumstances.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of families, though, where, like, there's multiple psychopaths. I'm sure that it's happened, but, like, normally it's like a one bad seed out of the bunch kind of a deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you have a whole family of petty criminals, but not, like, psychopathy amongst the entire family. You know what I mean? Mm. So I'm guessing that she was neglected, abused, and yes, probably had some boundary issues and some warped thinking, but to just have like 2 sisters that were full blown, like, let's strangle people and murder them. Like,
yeah, we just don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know if she was part of it or not.
It's a scary thought,
So let's dive into Mary Bell a little bit more. She was born into severe family dysfunction. Her mother's name was Betty, and she was widely reported to be emotionally unstable. She was violent, and she was a sex worker. Evidence later introduced showed that she attempted to give Mary away as a baby, and Mary was frequently rejected and unwanted, experiencing chronic neglect. She was subjected to psychological humiliation and severe physical punishments. She was exposed to her mother's sexual activity starting at a very young age. And then.
Yeah, I mean, I feel awful for this child. I really do. Like, what a fucking terrible 10 years on this planet. Like, unimaginable. Yeah, who knows if she was being fed properly, if she had proper brain development, what the damage was to being overdosed on medicine. You know, like, not that she's not, I mean, maybe she really wasn't culpable. Maybe she had fucking brain damage. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
A severely underdeveloped frontal lobe. And then with that underdeveloped frontal lobe, what's normal? Hitting people, beating people, like this is what's been normalized to you.
Yes.
It's awful. It really is. And it happens. We hear this a lot where an abuser was abused, you know, as a child. Not all the time. Not every abuser abuses, or every one that's abused goes on to abuse others. But
there is a correlation.
Yeah, it does make you sad to hear that that's all they knew. It's like they were over before they started, you know?
Yeah, the crimes against Mary were so bad that she should have been taken out and somebody should have saved her.
And it makes me wonder if, because she was still so young, if maybe a state hospital was a better fit for her, to see if out of that situation there was anything in there
she could thrive
going on.
Yeah, she could thrive.
Just because she was so incredibly young.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to know what the right answer is. What she did was so obviously premeditated and thought about and calculated. And, you know, she left the boy to look like he had just fallen. She moved his body to stage the scene. I mean, that shows a certain level of planning and manipulation. But then she lacked manipulation when she was just openly talking about, you know, it's just like a child. Like,
she's just a child.
Just
stupid
because you're a child, you know?
Well, all of her background is what ended up becoming central to the later psychological analysis and then the arguments about her culpability and her ability to be rehabilitated.
Right. I don't want her on the street, but I don't know if, you know, a youth jail is necessarily correct either. Like, I don't know.
Well, things are different in England anyways.
That's true. I don't even know.
They didn't do like a DH like we have here.
I don't know how it works. Yeah.
Like over here we have.
Not to mention that it was 5 decades ago.
Yeah, we have a juvenile
detention
center. And, you know, kids are jailed. Like,
unless you're
among other children.
16 and charged as an adult or something like that.
Right. But things in England are different, which we'll get into.
Yeah, I don't know. Like they have like the gallows or something, or just kidding.
Altogether, these experiences profoundly distorted Mary's personal understanding of safety, affection, pain, and control.
Yeah, she had no self-esteem. She had no identity.
She had no barometer. Of normal anything.
Yeah.
So the teachers and neighbors described her as intelligent and manipulative.
I'm sure.
Which probably means she was a little bit of a liar.
Yeah.
Probably. They described her as emotionally detached and aggressive with other children.
And how did it get here? Like, did they not have like a CPS, like a Child Protective Services? Like, things were so much like that's a family matter back then, you know?
Definitely.
nobody interfered with kids like they do now. And this is why people interfere like they do now before it escalates to things like this. But,
yeah.
A lot of kids face similar situations where they are physically beaten, food withheld. They grow up watching their moms be promiscuous. And it affects their self-esteem, and it affects their how they interact with peers, but it doesn't make them violent, and it doesn't make them, it makes them feel weird about being out in the world because they know that something's wrong, but it doesn't make them take it out on the world, So something was there in her that those same circumstances, instead of just a normal, fucking her up,
triggered
evil,
something else.
I'm trying to be realistic because
I don't think she was evil. I don't think she was evil.
In another case where if it was like a man and he was like, I'm thinking about grown-ups. When grown-ups say like, I was, beaten by my parents and neglected and this and that. And I'm like, okay, excuses, I'm trying to be fair to say like, it is an excuse because you should know not to choke somebody the fuck out, even if you yourself had been choked the fuck out. Like, you should, that more than anything should be like, that sucked. I'm not going to do that to other people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm just trying to be fair because I know in other cases I've been very critical. Like, I don't want to hear your bullshit excuses. Like,
I know.
You grew up and you had a chance to do better and you knew that it sucked and you knew that it was wrong because then you hid from the world that you did it. So, you're guilty. But she's 10. So how wrong did she know it was, and how aware was she of the serious?
She knew it was wrong. She didn't know the total impact of how wrong it is.
The totality of like how it would affect everybody in the town, the parents,
yeah. So in the initial police interviews, she admitted she had put her hands on his neck, and she just described it as messing about. That's how they talk. She did not initially describe any intent to kill.
I was just messing about.
This framing,
it's not funny.
In other words, play that went too far, was repeated early on. So Mary's explanation of the initials MB on Brian Howe, she admitted scratching the letters. She said it was her initials and something she did without thinking. She did not give a coherent motive beyond just curiosity and compulsion.
Yeah, and that's where you like lose me on the like, it was just playful and this and that, because if you really are like wrestling and then they die, that, if you're not a weirdo, should be alarming and like, like freak you the fuck out, and like you shouldn't want to stick around. I mean, maybe you stick around to be like, hey, like wake up, or like shaking, but not stick around to carve something in their skin.
Yeah, cut his hair and
yeah, like playing with a dead body should disturb you. Like, we are preconditioned in our DNA to be
it's taboo.
To be turned off isn't the right word, but to be put off by a corpse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just disturbing.
Yeah.
So experts interpreted the post-mortem interaction as a need to leave a mark and assert ownership or involvement.
Yeah.
And the court concluded that Mary knew she was hurting the boys, knew it was wrong, and her explanations about play, curiosity, control, and attention supported diminished responsibility and not full adult intent.
Yeah.
So the trial took place in December of 1968, so relatively quick, in Newcastle Assizes. I'm not sure what that word is. Newcastle, Assizes. Assizes.
Assizes. Yeah, Assizes. Newcastle ass. Got it.
Okay. Mary was charged with 2 counts of manslaughter, not murder. That's the difference between what they considered. Did she know what she was doing? In other words, she wasn't intentionally murdering them. It was manslaughter.
She was just choking them out.
No intent.
And then maybe for the first one, maybe for Martin, but then after after you choke one boy and you realize when you hold their neck for 2 minutes straight, they die and they don't ever wake up again. The second boy, I feel like it's intentional.
It does seem that way. So I'm curious why they didn't charge her with murder.
Yeah.
But no, manslaughter. So the prosecution argued that she understood right versus wrong, but suffered severe psychological disturbance. That's why.
Okay.
So the defense argued that her upbringing had been abusive, chaotic, and deeply destabilizing.
So she knows what's right and wrong, but she lacks the ability to make the judgment call on whether to do right or wrong.
That sounds like what they're saying.
Like, you knew it was wrong to kill this boy, but you lacked the judgment to not do it anyways. You lacked the ability to control yourself.
Due to your very
yes, because you have a diminished capacity. Yes.
Upbringing in which you've been exposed to. Yeah, they said the defense said they had psychological experts that testified that Mary's emotional development was severely impaired.
Did the I just want to know if her fucking parents went to jail or her mom went to jail. That's all I want to know.
I don't know. Sorry.
I wish they would just absolutely the mom is just as to blame.
I would say they must have charged her with something after the fact, but I didn't research that. So I don't know. I could look it up.
So.
I could look it up. The verdict was she was guilty of manslaughter by diminished responsibility. So the sentencing. Mary Bell was detained at Her Majesty's pleasure. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Which meant the juvenile equivalent of an indeterminate sentence. So,
however long the Majesty sees fit.
Yes. Incarceration included, she was incarcerated in secure children's homes. So kind of like our group homes.
Yeah.
But they were secured, like locked down.
Okay.
So kind of a home environment, but no access to the outside. And then later she was in psychiatric facilities when she was a little older.
Okay.
So after the trial, officials acknowledged that they underestimated child-on-child violence, and they agreed Mary's early behavioral warnings should have been escalated. And in other words, people should have said something.
Yeah.
And if they had, Martin's death would have been treated as a homicide and Brian Howe might still be alive.
Right. Or Martin's death might have been
avoided completely.
Yeah, if somebody would have yanked her from that environment.
That's true.
Yeah.
The experts testified that Mary suffered severe emotional disturbance and developmental trauma, and that made her display poor impulse control, a need for dominance, and a lack of age-appropriate empathy. She was not considered psychotic by them, just deeply, deeply damaged.
Well, at that stage, I think it's all you could say. I think it would take time to see, just like if you think your 4 or 5-year-old has ADHD, they're like, we're not diagnosing them till they're older, because guess what?
Okay.
All 4-year-olds are fucking wild and have poor impulse control.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So they want to wait until you're a little older when the same things that look like ADHD markers should work themselves out because you're school age and you should be like socialized and learning how to sit and do these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like the overlap there is like, oh, okay, it wasn't just because of your age. So I think that it would be hard to diagnose a 10-year-old as psychotic. I think you're going to need to put them in this different environment for years and and go back to it, to be like, it turns out even with normal people around her and education and lack of abuse and proper food and medical care and some love, she's still just fucking nuts.
Yeah, that's not the case for Mary. Mary underwent long-term therapy. She had education and supervision, intensely. So by her early 20s, the doctors concluded that she no longer posed any danger to society. So she was released in 1980. That was 12 years after the murders.
Okay.
And she basically had 12 years of rehabilitation. And she was 23 years old. So Mary was granted, after this, lifelong, I hate this word, anonymity. Is that how you say it? Anonymity. And her identity is legally protected. This later extended to her own daughter that she gave birth to.
Okay.
And she lived quietly under a new name with no
without
evidence.
Any judgment, and no people treating you weird. You can kind of move on with your life. Even if you're not crazy, if everybody's like egging your house and calling you a fucking kid murderer, that would break anybody. You know what I mean? Even if you were trying to do well and it really just was this terribly unfortunate situation. So glad that they gave her the anonymity and she was able to just kind of have a fresh start.
There has never been any evidence of any type of reoffending, but she did make a few statements before she became anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
She expressed regret and shame for her crime. She acknowledged that she had known that what she was doing was wrong, but that she hadn't understood the permanence at the time. And she reportedly said she wished she could go back and change it and apologize to the families, but accepted that she never could.
Yeah, kids don't understand what's that object permanency, like they don't understand the idea of like how things work in relation to time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why Peekaboo works with the baby, because it like blows their fucking mind. They're like, oh my God, where did they go? And they're like, oh my God, they're magically back. And they're like giggling, right?
Right.
And it's the same kind of thing. Like death is this thing like, okay, like I have this rough idea, like they don't wake up anymore, but it doesn't dawn on you like as far as time
anymore
goes,
is a long time.
Severe that is.
Yeah.
The same with youth sewer slide. Such a permanent fix to what we know to be the temporary problems of youth that of course work themselves out, because when you're in youth, if things are bad right now, it's hard to envision that you'll climb out of it, and it's hard to envision that there's a means to an end and that nothing lasts forever. And so those feelings feel so heavy and so permanent to you, and so like mind racing, like the situation's bad, there's no end in sight, that you do this permanent solution. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, absolutely.
Kids don't understand
it's
give it time.
Right.
Know?
It's just, there's just no way to fathom that.
Kids don't chess play, they don't think 6 moves ahead.
Right.
Or they chess play, but very unsuccessfully because they're only thinking one step at a time.
Yes. If that.
Right. So, well, I am glad to hear that once removed from the situation that, she was able to learn those very important skills and develop empathy and social skills. And
right. It's, it's amazing to me how a little love, support, security can change a person's entire existence.
If you've been played with that rough your whole life, you really don't think.
And on the same hand, how the opposite of love and support can change an entire existence.
Right.
She was a child killer. Imagine growing up and realizing that you are the one who killed 2 innocent children, especially when you have your own child. And that's when things really get solidified. When you have your own children.
And you think, what if some little girl
did this to my child.
out.
Yeah. That would be hard to live with.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure that she definitely needed counseling, and, that it was definitely something she dealt with regularly.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's the kind of thing that you just can move on from.
I don't know. She was 10, though. That's young. Not like she wouldn't have memory of it or she forgot, but she had so many formative years left.
That's true.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I think that it was ever lost on her what she did. I don't think that. But maybe it's what helped because she wasn't too far gone yet. There was still learning and development left.
And of course, she realized how her upbringing had shaped her way she related to the world.
Well, and it sounds like if she did get out and make a full recovery and was able to live a normal life afterwards, that it really was a case of like, my mom used to choke me out all the fucking time. Like I just, and then if I cried about it or said, ow, she was like, we're just playing around. Like, stop being such a baby and this gaslighting. And you know what I mean? And, it was lost on her that it wasn't normal behavior. She didn't have exposure to other things to tell her that like, that's not how we deal with problems, and no other modeled behavior. And once she had other modeled behavior, she was very able to adapt to like a normal way of handling things. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like, oh, wow, this is much better when we just talk things out.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, not to mention there wasn't a helicopter mom around to say like, hey, like we don't do that. Like, let's talk. Like I said, the kids were just handling things themselves. And how's a kid going to handle it? Just run away, like, oh, she's mean. And then they just run away from her. Like, still not like no lesson learned there. Like,
exactly.
And you're getting beat at home and you're angry and you have no self-esteem and you're trying to have a feeling of control.
Mm-hmm.
You want some control. And so you're like seeking a way to feel in control finally. And, I don't know. That's a wild one.
It was an odd case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd like to thank you for sticking around. And if you're still here, leave us a comment, a like, or a subscribe.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, thank you guys. And I guess we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.